Hello and welcome to Warframe. My name's Todd, also known as Mech, and this is of course Warframe. We left off trying to complete an Eidolon hunt and failing miserably. You might notice that it's quite a ways tonight, so as you can imagine, we're not going to be Eidolon hunting tonight. After our spectacular failure last time, I figured maybe it would be best if we actually got some better mods, thought about what we were doing with our frames, and maybe kind of progressed a little bit more. Um, so one of the big things I did want to do for us is I wanted to pick up the frame I've decided to worry about for defense missions. Now, I talked previously about Frost. There's lots of different frames that would be very good for defense missions, but there's only one we really have available to us at the moment, and that's Limbo. With the recent reworks to Limbo, I think he actually could be very useful when trying to do defense. Um, Even with the corrupted and the situations that it might entail, I think we could still make Limbo be more effective than some of the other frames. So we're actually going to purchase one of his blueprints, and we're going to craft Limbo. Now, as I stated previously, if you craft Limbo or most of the frames you get from quests, and you use a slot, that slot's pretty much taken until you can either get another version of that frame, such as Limbo Prime, or something else, unless you want to discard those frames. Now, if you discard those frames, though, the only way to acquire them again is to purchase them with platinum, which is in short supply early in the game. Now, you might be wondering, wait, we only have 3 slots, so who are we getting rid of to get in Limbo? And I decided that probably the best frame to actually get rid of was our poor little boy Volt. Loki's really useful later in the game, and we will be using him quite a lot. Rhino, same situation. There's a lot of situations where we can use him very thoroughly. Volt, though, is a frame that we will not be able to use to his fullest capacity till much, much later. So I honestly think it would be best if we actually got rid of him for the time being. As I stated previously, Volt is easy to acquire. He's not something exceptionally hard to get later on, so we can always reacquire him later on if we need him. But to discard a Warframe or to discard a weapon, we go into our equipment, our inventory, we select the area we want, we select the item we want, and we click Sell Items. Now, note this is permanent, so once you do this, it's gone. There's no way to fix it, there's no way to go back from it, unless you contact Warframe support. But even then, they may decide not to give that back to you, so just understand, be very careful when doing something like this. Goodbye, Volt. And so Volt is gone, and we now have an open Warframe slot. A couple things I want to talk about is currently there is an event ongoing. Since we finished our little bit with Limbo, we'll deal with him, of course, in the future. The ongoing event currently is Plaguestar. I will go down into Cetus and explain that event. I will also state that the Nightwave has, I want to say, reoccurred, but it's more of just an intermission in between parts of Nightwave. So the major thing about it is there are effectively things you can still get from the Nightwave, but you might notice that they're different. That is intentional by DE. You can still get other things with your creds once you get them. But again, these rotate sort of, so they change every now and then. Yeah, just note that it is similar, but it is not the same. It's kind of an intermediate between when they change it to the newer version that they were planning on making. Thermia fractures are also back, so if you missed those previously, you can get those. But let's go explain the Plague Star. So Plague Star is an event you can do in Cetus, and we will head down. Let's go to 18. That should work. When dealing with the stuff in Cetus, specifically the Plague Star event, it's all about dealing with Nekak. Forgive me again if I mispronounce that, but the young girl mask salesman. I believe it's a girl anyway. The voice is so high-pitched it's kind of hard for me to tell if it would be a boy. But I will show off kind of how that works here in a moment. So the major thing you'll want to know about, of course, is the actual mission itself, which you can pick up same way you pick up any other Plains of Eidolon mission, by heading over to Kanzu. And we won't pick it up just yet, but I will show it off. So we talk about the infestation. So Kanzu, of course, was expanding upon the boils which have appeared all over the Plains of Eidolon. You can, of course, activate the Plague Star event at any time during the Plague Star event. It's not timed, it's not day or night based, so there's that. There is also some very good mod rewards and some other rewards that you can get from the Plague Star. Um, so, of course, there is a set of mods, of course, the Hunter mods that you can only get from Plague Star. A lot of the mods in Plague Star are very good mods, so it's totally worth it to be doing that. Um, while dealing with Nakak here, you will notice she has a new menu called Operational Supply. Operational Supply deals specifically with the Plague Star. As you do the Plague Star mission, you will get reputation for this operational supply, which will allow you to purchase things, and go up in rank, of course, to purchase other things. Some of the basic things you can purchase right off the bat, which are extremely useful for new players, are Cetus Wisps, and some of the Radian, or specifically the Eidolon gems. You can also purchase Forma, so that's pretty great. Now, when doing the Plague Star event, there are some items that are particularly useful for the endgame stuff. So the Eidon Phylaxis is an item which you can purchase from Nakak later on once you've ranked up, and it Criminies. My throat's a little bit dry there. It effectively makes the boils harder. So a lot of times you'll join into a mission, you'll notice that the missions are actually very difficult. That's because the other players in the mission either used Eidolon Phylaxis or Infested Catalyst, which you can get from your clan dojo, in the mixer when creating the boil toxin, and that effectively makes the whole event much, much harder. Um, each one has its own effect. I don't remember them off the top of my head, and I'm not going to try and repeat them. Just note that for each one used, both the Eidolon Phylaxis and Infested Catalyst that you get from a clan dojo are effectively uh, they increase the level of the enemies and also the amount of health they have and damage they do, so just be aware of that. This is also where you'd get the Snipetron blueprint and the blueprints for the Plague Zaws. So you might have seen these Plague Zaws in some guides if you'd been looking around. Plague Zaws and of course Exodia Epidemic and Exodia Contagion are extremely useful for endgame content. They are very, very powerful Zaws, and criminies, I can't remember what these are called. I always forget. Effectively, the upgrades for your Zaws and/or Warframe, but these ones specifically are for Zaws. So you can see the effects of that one there, and you can see the effects of that one there. It is my personal opinion, after using both of them, that I think Exodia Contagion is slightly more useful, though you can kill yourself with Exodia Contagion. It does do self-damage, so be aware of that. Zaw-wise, you can pick whichever of these you so choose. They're all very good. If you specifically want the ones that make for excellent Zaws, the Plague Kripath and the Plague QR are the ones that add viral damage to your Zaw. The Plague Bokwin and the Plague Aquin do not. So those are just grips. Those aren't effectively Zaw blades. Um, yeah, so this is a great way to farm for Forma, a great way to get Cetus Wisps. There's also two mods you can get, Fulmination, as you can see there, and Sacrifice. Sacrifice is a fantastic mod when coupled with, I think it's Regeneration, or whatever it's called, the one that effectively makes your Sentinel revive itself, because the Sacrifice mod allows your Sentinel to heal you, or revive you, for instance, and then it will regenerate itself even though it killed itself with the other mod. So that's pretty useful. Though honestly, it tends to be one of those weird things where sometimes it'll bug out and the Sentinel will kill itself and it won't come back, but overall, it is a very useful combo if you're trying to solo something. So this is one of the events where we can actually just jump straight into it, so I was going to just jump straight into it. We're going to do one round of it. I have no idea how long it's going to take. Hopefully it won't take super long. I'm kind of hoping the group I get in with is just going to do it easy, as we're not very well geared. So that is what we will focus on doing. We will focus on killing that boil. Of course, it should be noted, when doing this, it's best to stay with your group, the enemies. When doing the mixer part, and later on the actual boil part, are quite difficult for newer players, so just be aware. It shouldn't be impossible for us, but we're going to see how it goes. I do plan on the future, by the way, retrying the Eidolon hunts, and I think we'll have more success in the future. But right now, it's kind of best for us to show off the Plague Star while it's here, so we can get a good feel for it. I, of course, would love it if we had the Arc Wing instead of the K-Drive, but currently all we've got is the K-Drive. Maybe one of these times we'll focus an entire episode on farming for that Arc Wing. But this is not that episode. This episode, we're focusing on Plague Star. Yeah, so the antagonist, of course, here is Vay Hek. His whole plan here was to eradicate Cetus with a infested boil, which he kind of guided towards the plains of Eidolon. And then once it eradicated Cetus... Whoa. So, the whole thing about the idea was that effectively he would use his so-called toxin to kill the boil once Cetus was kind of destroyed at that point. This is one of the new enemies that we hadn't seen yet. This is a Tusk Thumper. This was the major one added in the Plains of Eidolon remaster. I know you take off the leg plates, but I don't remember exactly how you do damage to it afterwards. So I'm not going to worry about it, actually, because we're not here to fight Thumpers. We're here to fight the Plague Star event. Actually, since our team is focusing on it, if our team starts heading towards the Toxin or the Boil, we'll focus on that, but I want to kill this Thumper, so we can show that off as well. New stuff and all that. Oh. Okay, so if we shoot the guns, those are weak points. The guns are weak points. Are those little nodules weak points? No. Only the guns appear to be weak points. Good to know. So we have to focus on those. If we can hit the bloody things while it's running. There we go, we got that one a little bit. And it's down. So that's how you take down a Tusk Thumper, and you get a bunch of resources for it, which is kind of nice. Let's head on over to the Boil. There is a first portion to this where you steal the Toxin. The second portion here is where you activate the mixer and you start adding the catalysts and whatnot. You can see you must add Infested Catalyst and Eidolon Phylaxis to increase your capabilities in this part. We're not going to worry about that because we don't really want it to be harder for us. We don't really have the items either, because we aren't high enough reputation, so it's not expected. If any of these players expect new players to have those, that's unfortunate. If they wanted to fully upgrade them, you can very easily get those items, such as the Eidolon Phylaxis and Infested Catalysts, yourself in mass quantities. So allow the higher level players to choose that sort of thing. Alright. Good old Vay Hek is such a nice guy, isn't he? When fighting these enemies here, you do want to try and get as much loot from them as possible, as they do have a chance to drop the mods that are specific to this event. So, kill everything, have fun with it, play Warframe the way Warframe's meant to be played, where everybody dies and you feel like a god. Alright. And let's see. We just want to make sure, since we're a lobby, that the mixer is safe from the piddly Grineer, the ones that we can deal with. Later on, as the Infested and Grineer go up in level when we're fighting the Boil, that may not be so easy, but right now we can deal with this. We can definitely deal with this. Man, I love this secondary that we got, the Dexurus. Way better than the basic single Vasto. A dual Vasto is pretty good, but man, it's nice to just run and gun sometimes. Have a nice, effective secondary here. This portion of the mission isn't very hard, it's just a basic defense. I've almost never seen it failed. I did once time see it get close to failing, but that was about as close as I've ever seen. A bombard had managed to get himself lodged right next to the defense objective, and he was just rocketing it while a lot of us were away from the objective, so it was a whole thing. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about it, at least not at this time. Our teammates seem very competent. They're on the ball, as they say. Alright, so the other players have decided that they're going to fully upgrade the Toxin here, and you'll see just how high level these enemies get. We will not be super effective in the later stages, so our major objective will be just to survive. This is what I recommend to pretty much all newer players. Though, when doing such and upgrading the Toxin, you get more reputation. So, it's not necessarily a bad thing for you. Just be aware as a lower level player, if you are lower level, that that can be bad. I almost forgot about this part. So first is stealing the Thrax Toxin, next is the Mixer, and the Mixer is the most important stage. After the very last stage, this is the third stage, which I entirely forgot about, where you escort this drone to the Boil. This part is not hard, pretty much at all. If you've done any of these escort missions in the Players of Eidolon, you understand what I mean. It's not hard. We do have a Titania in this mission, which this is ironically one of the few missions where Titania is actually extremely effective. Otherwise, I'd say that Titania is probably one of the least effective Warframes out there, but this one's exceptionally effective. When doing this, of course, do not stand on the Boil. The Boil is a giant damage area, so it will do massive amounts of damage to you if you are standing on top of it. Don't stand there, you will die. There's also an enemy we will fight during this Plague Star event, which I don't think any of us have actually seen, or at least not in this series we have seen, which is a boss-like enemy. Specifically, it's one that will, you can see in the Derelict, the Orokin Derelict, but we're going to get a sneak preview of it before we actually fight it. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be fun as it murders us, of course. Of which I have no doubt it will probably murder us. So this is the major part of the Plague Star, of course, destroying the boil. As this happens, you kill infested. Simple as can be, right? Well, it'll get very complicated very soon, especially when we are dealing with, as I stated, the boss-like enemies, which, since we injected all 4 of the items needed for that, will be at 25%, 50%, 75%, and 99%. So we'll be fighting 4 bosses in the course of this. And there's the first one. Forgive me for talking over Kanzu, but what he's saying there isn't super important. Meet the Hemocytes. Dangerous things. They're very, very large infested. There are certain heads you want to focus on. Mainly the ones that shoot, such as the Infested Corpus and the Hemocyte Agent. They do take a lot of damage. Once you've killed a head, it will explode, as those 2 just did, and those 2 together just did. The first one, of course, we killed very quickly, as that one's the most deadly. We got a Hunter mod, and there is an item you can pick up from the corpse of the Hemocyte, so be aware of that. You can see that the enemies are already level 32, so they're already pretty nasty. And that during this event, of course, there are these infested spawn pods, which will spawn low-level infested enemies. It's good to destroy those if you have time. For this event, actually, it's probably best that you have a very fast damaging weapon, such as our Dexterous. But you want something that does lots of damage. You can see that the Hemocyte is already level 55, and this is only the second one. Thankfully, our Titania is doing some serious work. And so is the Nova in our group, I believe. And the Rhino, the other Rhino. So that's nice. Our group is very competent. I hope they will forgive me for not being able to be on par with them here. As I also stated, there's lots of mods you can get from this event, so bonuses. Here's the 3rd Hemocyte. Dangerous Hemocyte at this point. It could probably one-shot us if it really wanted to. It's level 65. We're getting up there. We'll want to murder the Hemocyte, though, the best of our abilities. Kill the Corpus Head. Even though we're not doing a massive amount of damage, the Hemocyte does have a damage cap, meaning that it's only able to take so much damage per hit, which is what I talked about previously with the you want fast weapons for this fight. Fast but high damage weapons, of course. Fast is slightly more important than high damage, though, as we can actually do some pretty okay damage to the Hemocyte. Thankfully, as a Rhino, our major goal, of course, would be to revive our teammates, and we can do that thanks to having Iron Skin. Even with our low-level Iron Skin, level 65 enemies still aren't able to do too much damage to us. And bang, we're already at the last Hemocyte. So, if you can manage to kill up to this point by yourself, you are definitely an endgame build, and you're ready for pretty much anything the game can throw at you. Level 75 Hemocyte, dangerous as can be. I don't think there's anything more dangerous that there could be out there. I'm going to give my team a little bit of a roar there, because the upgrade and damage will help them out. Even though I'm not able to do that much damage myself, it's still nice to help them out. Kill the last Hemocyte heads, and revive our teammates as needed. Yeah, we could have revived that guy. So, we're not really seeing their attacks too well, but you can kind of get an idea of them. 2 of the heads are ranged heads. They're the most dangerous, and you want to focus those before you focus on the last one, which is kind of a melee head, the Hemocyte Grenadier. Hemocyte Grenadier is nowhere near as dangerous as the other 2. But there we go. And we have it, and we're done. So once you're done with that, you head back to Cetus. You've destroyed the boil, and if if you've put in all 4 of the items required for both of the items you can get, the Infested Catalyst and the Eidolon Phylaxis, you will get just tons and tons of rep very quickly. So being able to do this at the highest level is very, very beneficial. Appears to be some sort of alarm, but it's not important, I don't believe. Okay. So, thankfully people are noticing that I'm a low newbie and they're waiting up for me, I guess. Or maybe they're just collecting some stuff there. But regardless, we can get in here and be done with it. What just happened there? I have no idea what happened there. That was strange. But we're done. I want to thank our group here. They definitely carried us through that. We did almost nothing, I'm sure. But we tried our best. And we tried to help out. Yeah, 3% of damage, not great. We did manage to get Augur Message, which is fantastic. That's truly kind of a mod we needed at this time. A duration mod. That's really going to be a big help to us. Got lots of experience. We did also get pretty much max standing instantly. I'm pretty sure you actually get a lot more than just 1,000, but there we go, max standing. You do want to immediately start buffing up your standing. It's not as much of a grind, of course, because the event is meant to be kind of slow. But you want to focus on upgrading your ranks. That is, of course, if you're able, because you do need weapons. Or, I mean, not weapons, but items. Effectively, you do want to upgrade those ranks as soon as possible. Now we can pick one. We could go with the Eidolon Phylaxis. Let's see, is there anything more useful? The Snipetron might actually be somewhat more useful than the Eidolon Phylaxis at this stage. We'll go with the Eidolon Phylaxis, though, as it's something that's important to the event, and it's probably what you should pick if you're really going to focus on this event. Of course, we do need to get Defender, which there's what you need for Defender, but you also need 2,000 Reputation. And lastly, there's what you need for... oh, no, that's still Defender. And I think it's only 3,000 Reputation to go from Defender to Champion, so it's really not hard. But yeah, that's Plague Star. I want to thank my group for carrying us through that, as I stated previously, and showing it off. It's not super hard. It's great to join if you're a level player, like I said, because there's lots of really good mods, and typically your group will help you out. If not, though, like I stated, just don't do the Eidolon Phylaxis and Infested Catalysts if you're not sure if you can actually accomplish them. Otherwise, let's head back to our Orbiter real quick. Next time we will be trying to ensure that our Limbo is kind of ready for the defense missions, so we'll probably be leveling him up. And we'll also probably be focusing on some other stuff that we can do to get ready for the next junctions, or the next junction. I think we only have one left, isn't it right? Yes, the Eris Junction is the only one we have left. And yeah, we'll be focusing on that. But until then, goodbye.